The situation in Ukraine is at a bit of a standstill. You know, we haven't gone to open war yet. And in the meantime, we have a little bit of time to find out what the average American thinks about the situation. And if you poll Americans, you'll find out that about 2/3 say they're following the situation in the Ukraine somewhat closely or very closely. But to get a little bit deeper down beyond the numbers, researchers at 3 different universities figured, you know what, let's look at a map. And let's figure out how much people actually know about this situation. And so if you could bring up this first graphic, you've got a map of the world, and you see a little heat map. And basically they asked people to identify where on the map the Ukraine actually is. And you see that there's a good number who got it, or fairly close to it.
My favorite are the people who thought it was in Omaha.
I think Alaska.
Florida to me, Florida. That's the, who
Yeah.
thought it was in freaking South Beach?
Madagascar, Australia even.
In Australia, well, to be fair, God knows what's in the middle of the outback. Maybe Ukraine is there.
Maybe they're hiding it there.
Yeah, and so this is over 2,000 different Americans and all over the place. And what's scary about this is not just the ignorance and having no idea where it is. I think that if you were to ask most people watching this video, they wouldn't know exactly where on the map it was. But the huge disparity and also the interesting correlation that comes from it, the less you know, the farther off you are from where the Ukraine actually is, the more likely you are to want America to intervene militarily, economically, with sanctions and things like that. And that seems like a pretty dangerous thing, I think. Now, overall, only 16% of Americans were able to correctly locate Ukraine. When you break that down, you actually get some interesting things. So, younger people are actually much more likely than the old to identify where it is. Men slightly more likely than women. Interestingly enough, members of military households were no more likely to correctly identify where it is. So despite the fact that we could be in war there at some point.
Just doing our jobs.
Exactly. They say they're paying attention, but they can't find it on there. Independents far more likely than either Democrats or Republicans, almost twice as likely to be able to identify it. I don't know exactly what that means, but it seems interesting. College graduates also more likely. Now, in terms of how wrong they were, most thought that Ukraine was located somewhere in Europe or Asia, but the median respondent was about 1,800 miles off, about the distance from Chicago to LA. That is not a short distance. And overall, sort of the conclusion that the researchers take from this, controlling for a series of demographic characteristics and participants' general foreign policy attitudes, they found that the less accurate the participants were, the more they wanted the U.S. to use force, the greater the threat they saw from Russia as posing to U.S. interests, and the more they thought that using force would advance U.S. national security interests. So this is a case where ignorance is not harmless. Like they are pushing for us to go to war, or would be in support of it if we were, which is an incredibly dangerous thing for us to do, and it's based off of them having almost no information about the actual whereabouts and situation of Ukraine.
That's what it said right there, that information or the lack of information can influence Americans' attitudes about the kinds of policies that they want their government to carry out. So the less you know, the more you're in favor of war on people that you don't know.
And they say that was a similar, there was a similar sentiment during Vietnam here. That when people didn't know where Vietnam was other than over there, and that the people looked different, let's go. And then when they saw where it was, they were less likely to want to be.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as scientific.
And we saw the same thing with Iraq and Afghanistan too. You know, people are ready to go to war when they don't have any sort of personal connection or understanding that they're actually going to attack individual people with families and children.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that this sort of blindness of Americans says a lot about our education system. It says a lot about the lack of media, the inability of the media, or the, what's the word I'm trying to think of? The
inability, oh, you already said that.
But there's like an actual, you know what I mean? It's the media failure to actually give people actual information, you know?
Yeah, so it's education in schools, which is the first part of what you said, and then it is the media, because I was thinking when I was reading this, even if you were to take Syria, you know, people they always zoom in on Syria. So you can see a little bit of Lebanon one way, maybe a little bit of Turkey the other way, but they never give us any context of really where this is in the world, why this country may need this or that, or the way mountains are this way, so this land is important. And in an example like this, like I don't think people really realize even Crimea is further south than, it's not really connected to mainland Russia.
Yeah.
That, like simple things that I think would really help people understand.
Yeah.
you're not going to get in the media.
You are exactly right. You're not going to get
Once in
that
a while,
on
I get
cable
it.
news channels, but you are going to get it here. Bring up the map. In case they run a
I
second
didn't know there was a
version.
map coming here.
In case they,
I swear, look at this.
In case they do this study again, I don't want our viewers to be in the 16%. That is where Ukraine is in relation to Turkey, for instance, or Russia. Important to note, get a feel for where our allies are, where our potential enemies are in relation to that country before you go deciding that maybe we should send tanks in or possibly nuke the surrounding area.